I'm very good, thank you, other than the fact that I just had to listen to Boris Johnson's press conference about the next lockdowns in the UK.
Well, tell us about that, because your party is going to be the anti-lockdown party, am I correct?
Well, I think any sane person is the anti-lockdown party, aren't they, at the moment, when we're dealing with a virus with the lethality of influenza, yeah.
So tell us about your party. Tell us about what you hope to achieve. Has it what it's called, and what support you are getting, and how you intend to fight against the insidious cancel culture.
So we are called the Reclaim Party, and it's about taking something back, really, taking back the language from those that wish to use it negatively against us, and encourage the proper and organised and generous reasoned debate between people, robust debate between people who can disagree with each other without calling each other racists. And yes, we're putting together our policy platform at the moment, but I don't want to tell everyone what it is, otherwise our local Conservative Party will steal it.
Well, you raise a good point there, Laurence. How much of a well, you say it's the Conservative Party. It looks less and less Conservative to me by the day. Boris Johnson appears to have turned into a full woke climate cultist. Do you have a chance of tackling the Conservatives and stealing Conservative votes?
Well, ever since we launched, they've suddenly started being a little bit more conservative, which is quite encouraging. And I'm not egotistical enough to think that I'm ever going to be in charge. But if I can hold them to account, I certainly will, because boy, do they need it at the moment. They're not conservative. They're not. I mean, in England, we're living in a one-party state, which is lockdown. We don't have an opposition, and we don't have a government. We're being ruled. We're not being led. And it's very, very sad, actually.
Well, I want to ask you about those latest restrictions that have just been announced today. It seems very much like the first lot of lockdown measures. That didn't work. Why is it going to work this time?
Well, it's not going to work this time, is it? Because essentially, at the end of the day, we feel that we have some sort of supremacy over a virus, which we don't. The virus is going to work its way through our community, and instead of paying billions of pounds to furlough young people who are going to be either asymptomatic or on very rare occasions ill, we are we're destroying our economy. We're just committing economic suicide. It's absolutely astonishing, and I don't know. I don't know a single person that thinks this is a good idea. So we've got a government sat in a room somewhere arguing with each other, hence the hour-and-a-half delay. And I hear from inside the Tory party that the backbenchers are absolutely insanely angry with them.
So, Laurence, I want to thank you so much for spending your last few minutes of non-Tier 4 freedom with us. But I want to ask the question, I mean, it's sort of a two-part question. What is it about the links? Are there links between woke culture, cancel culture, and lockdown culture? Because it seems to me that these three things tend to go along. Is it just sort of a leftist urge to control, and they've used the virus as an excuse? And is there any sign of pushback from ordinary Britons on the street over these new restrictions?
There's certainly a problem with nihilism, which I think drives a lot of this desire to refuse to die, which comes from a total lack of belief in any meaning in life. And yes, the pushback is huge, and it's coming, and we're bringing it. So, you know, at least there's going to be an alternative. I mean, the last thing I wanted to do, I'd much rather sit on a rooftop bar drinking mojitos, waiting to go back onto set. But unfortunately, now I have to spend 17 hours a day trying to write this ridiculous cultural blip that has been thrown our way.
Laurence, you've got some great guitars there up on the wall behind you. Van Morrison has released a song, No More Lockdowns, where he's very adamant. Fascist police he rails against, the Imperialist College. How much is there really at a street level anger about the lockdown, and will we see it kind of spill out into open defiance of some of these measures, do you think?
I hope deep down that there is no disorder over these issues. I think that the government have massively misunderstood their constituency, and I think if they're not very, very careful, then unrest is highly likely. Yeah. And good for Van Morrison.
Rita?
Look, I want to ask you about France. They've had a number of terrorist incidents there. And again, we have seen victim blaming, even from elements of the mainstream media, blaming the French for bringing this on themselves. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happened there and what the reaction in the UK has been?
Well, we went this morning actually to lay some flowers at the gates, at the doors of the French embassy to show our solidarity with them, because I think many in the UK and many in Britain feel extremely sad for what's gone on in France. And yes, this appalling need to drag blasphemy into the centre stage of the conversation, and Trudeau's done its day again in Canada is appalling. I think that we're defending at the gates now Western civilization, and I think that it's awful what happened in France, utterly awful. But at the same time, I don't want to demonise Muslims, because I don't think that's the right thing to do. But I think one has to turn around and say we need condemnation from both the Islamic faith and from the Christian faith. Because in England, we know what the Church of England thinks about Brexit, we know what the Church of England thinks about immigration, we know what the Church of England thinks about Dominic Cummings, and we know what the Church of England thinks about almost anything except Islamic extremism. So
exactly.
we lay climate change. Oh, and everything. The woke bishop of Canterbury.
And the attacks against Christianity.
100%.
So, yeah, with that attack on Christianity, though, it's also an attack on the French state, isn't it? An idea that the French state has the sole authority over, A, the use of violence, but B, who is allowed to say what. And now you've got this movement, which I think maybe 5 years ago we tried to kumbaya our way out of with, Je suis Charlie Hebdo kind of marches, but obviously that hasn't worked. So, I mean, do you think Macron's idea for a more robust approach is correct here?
Yes, 100%. I think that it's very, very important that the democratic values of any Western civilization are based on freedom of speech. And unfortunately, one of the aspects of that freedom of speech, whether you like it or not, is the right to blaspheme. And if you don't like it, then please, by all means, go somewhere where they do.
I'm keen to know how you're going to get your political support. Are you able to draw on Labor voters, traditional Labor voters as well? Because the Labor Party seems to be in a mess. They've just punted Jeremy Corbyn for his anti-Semitism, long overdue. But Labor doesn't. As you said, it's one monolithic state policies between Labor and the Conservatives. How can you draw from both sides, and will you run up against the kind of woke turning on you and attacking you from that side?
Well, fortunately, I'm very used to the woke turning on me and attacking me from all sides, and I don't really give a monkeys. It doesn't bother me two bleeps. In terms of right and left and Labour and Conservative, I think Labour have put themselves in a very difficult position by adopting what Keir Starmer has done by drinking the Kool-Aid of critical race theory, which has put him in a very difficult position, possibly why Labour has lost a lot of support in the north. And the British are generally pretty, very, very small C Conservative. So I don't even see what I'm trying to do as a political movement. I just see it as can we just reclaim a bit of common sense to the argument, and we talk to each other and not scream at each other and call each other racists or paedophiles. Oops, that was me, and or whatever else one does.
So will you be contesting elections soon?
Oh yes, we certainly will, and I would love to tell you what we're going to do, but again, they'll just steal it from me.
Rita?
Well, I'm excited that there is another option now for voters who must be feeling disenfranchised because none of the parties speak to them. I want to ask you, we're here for the US election. Do you have any thoughts there, and perhaps a tip for us?
I feel that I'm very over emotional and over dramatic in these situations, but I feel that if we don't get another 4 more years of Donald Trump, then America's possibly going to implode, and Australia's going to be in trouble because it's got one eye on China, and someone's going to turn around and look at England and go, "What do you guys think?" And we're going to go, we don't know. So my hope is that My hope is that they don't, that Biden doesn't get in. I don't like what's coming through in terms of their policy platform. I don't think that they really are representative of hope. The Democrats at the moment, I think they're a very reactionary movement. And as much as you can dislike or like Donald Trump, I mean, I find him I think he's a very good stand-up comedian, if I'm honest. But I also think it's wonderful that he's a non-politician, and he's standing up for the rights of Americans of all different ethnicities and sexual orientations. And I've not seen anything to remind me that he's not a good person.
Laurence Fox, you are a great person. You stand for values. You are fighting for Western civilization. The Brits are very lucky to have you there, and good luck in your venture. Good luck, and we'll be following closely. And please feel free to come and talk to Australia whenever you can. And I'm sorry about the lockdown you've now got to endure. It sounds like an absolute nightmare. Laurence Fox, thanks for coming on Outsiders.